Hey up Internet and welcome back to On the Sofa Live. If you're new, do like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Hey up Internet and welcome back to On the Sofa Live. If you're new, do subscribe and hit the bell icon to stay in the loop. Okay, I've got a lot to get through, but first, I want to make an announcement. I want to take this opportunity to my new let's start that again, shall we? My new book, Purple Haze, is out now. DCI Critchley must solve the murder of a retired wrestler found on a bench in the famous Tunbridge Wells Pantiles. In investigating his murder, he also discovers a 30-year-old murder. Can he solve that one too? And what does the murder of this retired wrestler have to do with dodgy vapes that have killed a teenage girl? Purple Haze out now on Amazon in Kindle, paperback and hardback formats. Get your copy now. Okay, now that we've got that out of the way, let's crack on. There's so much news. So much has happened this week. If I was to talk about everything that has happened, I think I'd be up all night. So, excuse me. Let's start. Excuse me. Something in my mouth. Gross. I hate it when that happens. Anyway, let's crack on. Which one are we starting with? Yeah. On Easter Sunday, Donald Trump shared a post on Truth Social that caused everyone's hearts to stand still. He said this about Iran: "A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, where different, smarter, and less radicalized minds prevail, maybe something revolutionary, wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world. 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the great people of Iran." What else? Let's start that again. And let's do something a bit different, actually. Bear with me, guys. Hang on. This is an article from Zeteo. This article is from Zeteo by Asawin Swazboy. This article is from Zeteo by Asawin Subswan and Andrew Perez. Trump threatens war crimes, praises Allah on Easter Sunday. Praise be to Allah, the insane president posted, while threatening to blow up Iranian power plants and bridges if he doesn't get his way. US President Donald Trump kicked off Easter Sunday by dropping an F-bomb and rage posting on social media, threatening apocalyptic war crimes in Iran as part of the illegal war he started while praising God. Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran, Trump posted on Truth Social. There will be nothing like it. Open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. And I don't know about anyone else, but if I was one of his devotees, if I was a MAGA faithful, that would piss me off. That would really piss me off. Even if it's just praising Allah in jest. To praise Allah on the holiest day of the Christian calendar, Easter Sunday, when you're supposed to be celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ, even if it is a joke, it's a joke in very poor taste, I would have thought. That would have really pissed me off if I was a MAGA supporter, if I was one of the MAGA faithful. You'd think that they would be really pissed off with that, wouldn't you? But apparently not. The article goes on. The article goes on. For those keeping track, in his prime-time address to the nation last week, Trump insisted that reopening the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran has effectively closed since the start of the war, blocking the flow of oil, should be other nations' responsibility. Now, he's threatening to carry out war crimes and destroy Iran's civilian infrastructure if its regime doesn't reopen the strait. So, yeah, I mean, that's exactly it, isn't it? At first he was saying that he didn't need the strait to be opened. He was telling his allies to come and send warships to reopen the strait themselves, because America doesn't need the strait to be opened. So they should just do it themselves. But then in this post that I've just read, he's thrown a temper tantrum and threatening Iran with war crimes, telling them to open the fucking strait, you crazy bastards, or they'll be living in hell. He's lost. This is someone who has lost complete control. He's lost complete control of the situation. He's lost complete control of the war that he started. These are not the words of a sane human being. Sunday's disturbing insanity is unfortunately what we have grown to expect from the sitting President of the United States, who the entirety of the Republican Party elite insists is well. White House officials did not immediately reply to Ceteo's query about whether this was an appropriate Easter Sunday message to the nation. Other current and former Trump administration officials had initial reactions ranging from LMAO to casual exasperation. Early on in the conflict, Ceteo dubbed this the worst-run war in US history, as evidenced on this Easter Sunday. President Trump and his party keep reinforcing and inflaming that diagnosis. The Iranian embassy in Thailand responded to Trump's message on Twitter, referencing the president's pledge to bomb Iran to the Stone Age. Judging by how POTUS swears like a teenager, it seems the US has reached the Stone Age sooner than expected. What a burn. That is brilliant. That is poetry. A half hour before Trump issued his latest threat, Pope Leo XIV, come on, Mike, you remember your Roman numerals, 14th. Okay, let's start that again. A half hour before Trump issued his latest threat, Pope Leo XIV posted his own, much more appropriate Easter message, a plea for peace. In the light of Easter, let us allow ourselves to be amazed by Christ, the Pope wrote on Twitter. Let us allow our hearts to be transformed by his immense love for us. Let those who have weapons lay them down. Let those who have power to unleash wars choose peace, not a peace imposed by force, but through dialogue, not with the desire to dominate others, but to encounter them. If only Trump was listening. Yeah, if only indeed. And, what a contrast between the Pope's message and Trump's message. The Pope's message is a message of peace, and it's a message from a grown-up, but Trump's message is a message of war from a petulant toddler. The contrast is amazing. Later Sunday morning, Trump told Fox, if they don't make a deal and fast, I'm considering blowing everything up and taking over the oil. You mad bastard! You insane, insufferable bellend! We already had a deal! You maniac! We already had a deal that Obama made, but you tore it up out of spite, dickhead! I hate this guy so much. For God's sake. For goodness sake. He makes me it makes me sick. It makes me sick to my stomach. It makes my blood boil. For crying out loud. And not not to mention the fact that they were at the negotiating. Not to mention the fact that they were already at the negotiation table when Trump started this war. He's a complete maniac. He's a warmongering megalomaniac, psychopath, idiot. Then he posted this. A whole civilization will die tonight, never to be brought back again. I don't want that to happen, but it probably will. However, now that we have complete and total regime change, they don't have total regime change. That hasn't happened at all. Where different, smarter and less radicalized minds prevail, actually the Ayatollah's son is even more radical than his father, so that's not true either. Maybe something revolutionary wonderful can happen. Who knows? We will find out tonight. One of the most important moments in the long and complex history of the world, 47 years of extortion, corruption, and death will finally end. God bless the people of Iran. What a complete psychopath. You know, there's Donald Trump there threatening genocide, basically, saying that a complete civilization will be wiped out or disappear. He seems to be threatening to nuke Iran. You know, that's what I read from that anyway. And so the world held its breath until he posted this. All US ships, aircraft, and military personnel with additional ammunition, weaponry, and anything else that is appropriate and necessary for the lethal prosecution and destruction of an already substantially degraded enemy will remain in place in and around Iran until such time as the real agreement. Oh, sorry, hang on. I think that's the wrong one. I don't think I've got the actual post. But thankfully, Taco Trump chickened out. And he accepted a deal. Hang on. I need to look this up. Sorry. I need to get my facts right here. I need to get the sequence of events. Okay. Oh, we've got 3 people watching. Welcome. I'm sorry about this. I thought I had everything set up, but I guess I got it wrong. Sorry. You have to, but but anyway, I've got it now. But then Donald Trump posted this. Based on conversations with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Field Marshal Asim Munir of Pakistan, and wherein they requested that I hold off the destructive force being sent tonight to Iran and subject to the Islamic Republic of Iran agreeing to the complete, immediate, and safe opening of the Strait of Hormuz, I agree to suspend the bombing and attack of Iran for a period of 2 weeks. This will be a double-sided ceasefire. The reason for doing so is that we have already met and exceeded all military objectives and are very far along with a definite agreement concerning long-term peace with Iran and peace in the Middle East. We received a 10-point proposal from Iran and believe it is a workable basis on which to negotiate. Almost all of the various points of past contention have been agreed to between the United States and Iran, but a 2-week period will allow the agreement to be finalized and consummated. On behalf of the United States of America, as President and also representing the countries of the Middle East, it is an honor to have this long-term problem close to resolution. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. So thankfully, he didn't carry out his threat. It seems that, for now at least, he has. It seems that sorry, I can't get my words out. It seems that for now at least there is a deal between America. Sorry, it seemed that there was a deal between America and Iran, at least for the time being. What demands are in Iran's 10-point plan? According to state media, Iran will only accept the war's conclusion once details are finalized in line with a 10-point peace plan reportedly submitted to the White House via Pakistani intermediaries. The list of 10 points published by Iran's state media include a number of conditions the US has rejected in the past. The plan requires the lifting of all primary and secondary sanctions on Iran, continued Iranian control over the Strait of Hormuz, US military withdrawal from the Middle East, an end to attacks on Iran and its allies, the release of frozen Iranian assets, a UN Security Council resolution making any deal binding. In the version released in Farsi, Iran also included the phrase acceptance of enrichment for its nuclear program. But for reasons that remain unclear, that phrase was missing in English versions shared by Iranian diplomats to journalists. I'm trying to find something else as well. Sorry. That's no good. Okay. In this article in the New York Times outlines Iran's 10 points. This article in the New York Times outlines Iran's 10 points peace plan. Here are the 10 points of Iran's proposal according to Iran's official news agency, IRNA, and where these demands might conflict with Washington's aims. 1. An American guarantee of non-aggression with Iran. In the earlier 15-point proposal offered by the US mediators, only a ceasefire was on offer. Iranian officials want to ensure a formalized end to hostilities that is more permanent. This is one of the main demands according to interviews with regional security figures and former Iranian diplomats that Iran will focus on. 2. Iran maintains control of the Strait of Hormuz. This is likely to become a major sticking point. Iran's ability to strangle traffic through the strait through which a fifth of the world's oil passes has wreaked havoc on the global economy. It is very unlikely that Washington or Iran's Gulf Arab neighbors would accept this. 3. Ending the regional war on all fronts, including against Iran's ally Hezbollah in Lebanon. This could become an eventual point of alignment. The United States and Israel want Tehran to curb an alliance of militias. The United States and Israel want Tehran to curb an alliance of militias it has fostered across the region, which it calls the axis of resistance. Many of those militias have come to Iran's defense in the current war, launching drone and missile attacks on US targets, Gulf countries, and Israel. Among them was the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah, to which Israel responded with a major offensive. Israel then announced plans to occupy parts of southern Lebanon. Israel says the current ceasefire does not apply to its operations in Lebanon. Whether the Lebanon front can be brought into a longer-term deal is an open question. 4. Withdrawal of US combat forces from all bases and positions in that region. US forces maintain bases across Gulf Arab states, Israel, and Iraq. It is difficult to conceive of a scenario in which the US would accept this. 5. Reparations to Iran for war damages. Iran has sustained a devastating level of destruction, not only to its military sites, but to critical infrastructure, including pharmaceutical and steel plants, bridges, universities, and energy facilities. There has been no indication that US officials would consider offering compensation. 6. Acceptance of Iran's right to nuclear enrichment. This is diametrically opposed to Mr. Trump's most recent statements, in which he has again called for zero enrichment of uranium. Some regional diplomats have aimed to soften US demands, suggesting Tehran could instead agree not only to actively conduct enrichment or to limit enrichment to a symbolic amount at the lowest threshold for civilian purposes. It remains unclear whether Washington would accept that. 7. Lifting all primary sanctions on Iran. Washington has imposed on Iran different forms of primary sanctions or direct restrictions on financial transactions since the founding of the Islamic Republic after the 1979 revolution. In previous negotiations, mediators aimed for the US officials to lift some sanctions in exchange for concessions on Iran's nuclear program. Mr. Trump's own statement on Wednesday touched on the idea of offering tariff and sanctions relief. 8. Lifting all secondary sanctions on Iran. In addition to its directly blocking trade with Iran, the United States also imposes sanctions that penalize other countries or non-American companies that do business with Iran. Like the point on primary sanctions, this part of the proposal would likely be negotiable depending on what Iran offers. 9. Termination of all resolutions against Iran by the Board of Governors of the International Atomic Energy Agency. Last June, the UN nuclear watchdog passed a resolution against Iran for the first time in 20 years, saying that Iran was not complying with its nuclear non-proliferation obligations, a move Iran condemned as political. Washington cannot force the IAEA to repeal its resolution. Washington cannot force the IAEA to repeal its resolutions, but it could perhaps pressure allied countries to do this as part of a comprehensive deal with Iran. And 10. Termination of all United Nations Security Council resolutions against Iran. There have been several UN resolutions against Iran, particularly on the issue of nuclear proliferation. Last October, the United Nations reimposed sanctions on Iran, saying Iran was in breach of a 2015 deal to limit Iran's nuclear enrichment. Washington could try to influence its allies to do this, but again, it would likely require a comprehensive agreement with Iran. So this is far from over. This conflict is far from over. There may be a temporary ceasefire at the moment, but we're far from reaching any kind of agreement. And all of this could have been avoided if only Donald Trump hadn't torn up the plan. And of course, all of this could have been avoided if Donald Trump hadn't torn up the deal that Obama made with Iran in the first place. But let me know your thoughts on all of this in the comments. Okay, I think I've said enough about that. I didn't mean to go on about it, but for this long, I'm really, but thank you for bearing with me. Okay. Let's see what else we can talk about. No, not that one. I think. Okay. I'm going to try and do something different this week. There's a video that I want to share with you guys, and I'm going to play it and pause it to interject my thoughts. This was a video shared by the Daily Mirror about Reform's shop window council Reform have taken over Kent County Council in the last by-elections, and it hasn't been going very well.
Has gone up. Not noticed any change at all.
An unserious country we've become.
Good evening to 57 Kent County councillors.
When Reform UK took control of Kent County Council last year, they promised that this would be a shop window for how the party would be in government. Yet we have seen scandal, feuds and chaos. I'm in Maidstone in Kent, where I've been chatting to people about Reform and how they've been performing in the...
And Maidstone is near where I grew up. I grew up very near Maidstone, and I used to shop in Maidstone on a regular basis. So there you go. Bit of history for you there.
County Council. I think it's fair to say some people have been less than satisfied.
Not noticed any change at all.
Well, council tax has gone up, so they haven't done that, have they? And basically that's the pension's gone.
It's not been so good. It's not nice. Not a nice place to live anymore. They say anything to get voted in, don't they?
I don't really see much trouble through Maidstone, so I guess things must be working somewhere for some people.
There hasn't been any either improvements or decline in anything. Things have stayed much the same.
The council tax has gone up 4%, nearly 5%. We're constantly paying higher and higher taxes and council taxes for poorer services. Yeah, faith in politics went a long time ago for me.
So yeah, that's the thing. They promised that they weren't going to raise council tax. but at least in Kent, they have done. And if this is how they run things in Kent, this is a microcosm of how they're going to run things if they manage to get into power in the next general election. So it doesn't bode well for a reform government, does it?
Since Reform's victory in Kent, more than half a dozen councillors have either been booted out of the party or have quit and joined other parties. One notable scandal saw this leaked video come out which had the council leader shouting and swearing at other members.
I'm going to mute you in a minute. You're just going to have to fucking suck it up, okay?
There is a lot of backbiting going on.
There's just been chaos. It shouldn't be KCC, it's Kent Chaos Council. They came in during the election with no policies. They put lies on their leaflets. So when it was a surprise for them that they came in, and a lot of the councillors didn't think that they would win, and when they came in they had no idea and they were scrabbling to try and find out what to do. And because they put lies on the leaflets, they couldn't do any of those things.
Do you think that Reform leading Kent County Council is delivering for local people across Kent?
Reform at KCC is not delivering for local people. Most of them are ex-Tories. And the reason people voted for somebody else apart from the Conservatives was to do things differently. And they're just carrying on with what the Tories did.
Reform also said that they would cut costs in the area. They wanted to imitate Elon Musk in the US and bring in a Department of Government Efficiency, more commonly known as DOGE. They also said that they would cut taxes. They put this on campaign leaflets during last year's local elections. And yet, council tax in the area is to go up by 3.99%.
It was like a circus. They posed on the stairs. They said they'll find all this waste, all this corruption. Yusuf put on all social media that they found this, and it was all misinformation.
And that's the thing. Reform say that they want to bring in their own version of Doge, but it hasn't worked in Kent. They haven't found any waste whatsoever. They haven't been able to save. They haven't been able to make any savings whatsoever in Kent. And of course, we all know that Doge has been a complete disaster to the United States. And yet Reform want to bring something here of a similar nature. Unbelievable.
It was nonsense. They tried to put in also a Doge cabinet member, and they even came out themselves to the press to say that they found nothing. So it's just what Reform do is they do things to get headlines, and then you look at their actions and nothing really happens. They just want a headline and a quick fix just to try and get support, but there's just no substance in it.
Broken promises on cutting people's bills has a real-world impact. The Mirror visited a food bank called Making a Difference to Maidstone, where we heard that people were struggling across the area and pressure on them was not decreasing.
The strain on our services has been the same. I would say that they need to be given a chance. I know they've come in and they've started to look at savings, and maybe that 1 year of looking for savings has been the priority. Maybe in the next year we might see some fruition of that coming down to us as charities. I
wouldn't hold your breath. I wouldn't hold your breath at all.
I don't know. All I know is pressure keeps building, people keep needing, and we just keep trying to provide that restoration in their lives, because something as simple as you get your child a bed and you get brand new uniform to send them to school can just lower anxiety massively, because as a parent you just want to provide for your child. So if we can step in and help parents in this kind of crisis moment, we will do. But 1 year on, at the moment, don't see a difference.
And how do you feel about that? I mean, obviously, Nigel Farage kind of helicoptered into Kent after they won. He said this is going to be a shop window for what Reform will be. What do you think when you think back to 1 year ago and those sort of promises that were made?
Nigel Farage is a showman. I don't have any feelings pro or against. He has to be given his chance. Yes, helicoptering in, bit much. And if he's saying that Kent is going to be a shop window, then he really needs to sort that display out, because at the moment, Kent hasn't changed.
Reform's performance in Kent has not only been engulfed by scandal, but seems to have done little to help those people most in need in the area. Nigel Farage promised a new dawn after the victory in Kent, and yet it seems like 1 year on, people are very much still waiting for that to happen.
Yeah, exactly. If Kent is a shop window for reform, if it's a shop window on how reform are going to be like in government, then it's been an unmitigated failure. The shop window is in shatters. It's broken, and it's been laid bare for all to see that they've made a pig's ear of things in Kent. You know, like that report said, people have left reform and joined other parties. You know, there hasn't been any change whatsoever, in fact. And apart from council tax going up, when they promised they wouldn't put up council tax. And you know, things are just not getting done. People are under pressure to pay their bills because council tax has gone up. And you saw that food bank was struggling, and so it just so it doesn't look good. So it does not bode well if reform get into power in the next general election. Let's hope that doesn't happen. Okay, next segment. Oh shit, here we go again. Another racist reform member. This is an article by the Canary. Reform welcomes shoot the P word scandal ex-Tory by Willem Moore. Every day, Reform's battalion of local election candidates is looking worse and worse. Today, we learned that the party has welcomed a notorious ex-Tory councillor who voiced what can only be described as hardcore Nazi-grade genocidal intent. The Left Take posted this on X. Meet Derek Bullock. Reform have selected him to contest the ward of Holton in Bolton, despite the fact that he made the news for saying that peas should be shot on the spot back in 2017 while a Conservative councillor, a story that led to his sacking. Reform claimed they have the most rigorous candidate vetting in the UK. Yet a simple Google search of Derek Bullock's name brings up several news articles about Derek's racist past. So is Reform's vetting process broken? Or do they condone Derek Bullock's call to violence? And that is a very good question. It's a question that I myself have asked on this stream before, when we've encountered other racist Reform candidates. Do they even have a vetting process? This needs to be investigated, because if they do have a vetting process, it's clearly not working. Because time and time again, we're encountering racist candidates. Time and time again, we're encountering racist candidates who have to step down or voluntarily step down. Shoot them on the spot. In March 2020, the Conservatives suspended Bolton councillor Derek Bullock, as the Manchester Evening News reported at the time. It is alleged that Councillor Derek Bullock, who represents Holton Ward on Bolton Council, posted an article from anti-Muslim activist Robert Spencer's Jihad Watch on Facebook. In response to an article about former party chair Baroness Sayeeda Warsi, he reportedly added, "She's been a cuckoo in the nest." In another post from February 2015, he is shown to have shared a Daily Mail article under the headline, "Number of Muslim children in England and Wales doubles in a decade," adding the comment, "The clock is ticking." That's really ominous, isn't it? The clock is ticking. What did he mean by that? That is really dark. That is threatening, isn't it? He's threatening something there. Despite this, Bullock was actually reselected to run for the Tories in 2023. Although he was suspended and remained a councillor. At the time, Labour MP Rasim Qureshi said, "I am absolutely disgusted by the deeply offensive racial comments on former councillor Derek Bullock's Facebook account. The decision of Bolton Conservative Party to reselect Bullock is just another example of the disdain the party has for the Muslim community and the deeply rotten culture of Islamophobia which has been found to exist throughout the party." Moreover, this decision shows a lack of commitment to integrity and calls into question his suitability for public office and ability to represent our multicultural town. In response to the backlash, the Tories resuspended Bullock, with the Mirror reporting on this truly obscene post from him. Following the Manchester Arena bombing in 2017, an account in Mr. Bullock's name commented on a news article, "Shoot the peas on the spot." He's clearly woken up to the fact that he's not getting back into the Conservative Party. The question is whether Reform will tolerate a councillor who's expressed an intent to eradicate a sizable UK minority group. Reform vetting. The Canaries Antifa bot posted the following. Antifa bot, aka the intolerant left. Hey Reform UK, I just wanted to know, do you screen your candidates? And if you do, is being a total and utter fascist who looks like a nonce a must? Just so you know, if you do get in, we will absolutely stand up against people like this. Fucking dickhead. As we reported earlier today, there is reason to believe that Reform just isn't vetting its candidates. This is from Reform Party UK Exposed. Brett Muscroft is Reform UK's candidate in Castleford and Central Glasshoughton, Wakefield. He shows clearly that Reform UK's vetting is nil for this coming local elections. He posts on Islam his support of Tommy Robinson, Enoch Powell, and posting far-right and racist content. The exposed posts from Brett Muscroft were found on his personal Facebook account. When we looked into it, this account was still public and was instantly discoverable with a search on Facebook. This leaves two possibilities. Reform isn't vetting candidates. Reform has decided to accept the absolute dregs of humanity. Either way, we get the same result. We cannot let these racists win. We cannot let these fascists win. And the only way to stop Reform from getting into power is to vote for the Green Party. The only way to stop, and the reason this is, and the reason that it's the, and the reason that the Green Party are the only party that, I will get my words out in a minute. Actually, no, I think I've said enough. We know that the Green Party are the party that you should vote for in order to stop Reform, because firstly, because for the first time in history, the Green Party are at the top of the polls, and secondly, because there is growing evidence that they are taking votes away from Reform. So vote for the Green Party to keep out Reform. Okay, one final story tonight, then I'll call it a night. This is from The Poke. The leader of the far-right Britain First got all nostalgic about 1900s Yorkshire and was schooled into next year. There is no need to dwell upon Paul Golding any more than is strictly necessary. He is the co-leader of far-right political party Britain First, and we mention him because he's getting all nostalgic about 1900s Yorkshire on Twitter. He tweeted this: "This is Yorkshire in the early 1900s. Look at the standards of dress and a total absence of diversity. This is true England." And he posted this video. Anyway, you get the gist. That's what he was getting nostalgic about. And we're glad he did, in a way, because it enabled all these people to school him to the Yorkshire Dales and back. Number 1. Where scurvy, rickets, malnutrition, legal marital rape were part of daily life. Eshuru, October the 19th, 2025. Number 2, the standards of dress. Most poor fuckers were in mines, you dick. I hate racists, but I really hate thick as fuck racists. That's from Aid. Number 3, from Salute AUT, the far right have a fetish for pointing at the richest people in society of any bygone era and shouting, "This is what it could be like," as if they themselves wouldn't statistically be dirt poor and overworked with shit garms and no conceivable quality of life. Number 4, these are the wealthy Yorkshire Victorians. The rest were down the pits that this mob owned, keeping the country running, breathing in shit, living in poverty and dying young because they had no health service, which is what will happen again when Reform get rid of ours. That's from Tommy Lewis, 1975. Madeleine Hanson tweeted this: "This is the top 15% of the population. Most people worked in factories, down mines, and in mills. You'd spend 12 hours a day breathing in soot and dangerous gases, and if you died, your wife would be evicted and sent to the workhouse. Don't base your ideals on nice hats." Number 6, from Alan Almonks on Twitter, posted this: not for the majority. Number 7, from the Ghosts of Mughals Past. Lol, you think you would have been wearing a fancy hat and coat? You'd have been barefoot and wearing a potato sack. And finally, number 8, pretending a few iron and coal magnates are an accurate reflection of Yorkshire in the early 1900s is laughably ridiculous. Billy Buddhist. Oh, there's actually more. Number 9, oh look, all the push cunts. So I'll start again. There's actually more. Number 9 from Lorena Knobchopper, great name. Oh look, all the posh cunts who lived in fancy homes and could afford quality clothes, unlike the poor living in slums. Number 10 from Roger Hutchinson. This is almost everybody else in the early 1900s at the age of 40. Number 11, Eddie Mann. Where most of the people were. Number 12, Lion Jones. If you're nostalgic, fantasy. Number 12, Lion Jones. If you're nostalgic fantastist, maybe, but this ain't true England in the early 1900s. Most people lived in deep poverty and could barely afford shoes and clothes. Selling this as an idyllic 1900s English paradise is nonsense. Number 13, from Stuart Lacey. Now show some pics from the same era with ordinary folk up to their neck in muck and dust with a life expectancy of just 37 years. Hungry kids forced to work in factories for a pittance. Maybe you could show some workhouses too. Dr. M. Alfara simply posted reality. Catherine Levy posted, yes, all the lovely poverty, class inequality, World War I to look forward to, and the high infant mortality rate. Makes you feel all warm and fuzzy, doesn't it? Number 16, Paul Davis posted, you represent a scary level of ignorance amongst us. Number 16, Paul Davis tweeted, you represent a scary level of ignorance amongst a section of today's voters. And number 17, Mounting posted, this was the period of history when Britain was brutally exploiting, abusing, and oppressing people from colonies we'd taken over by force and massive military might, you utter ignoramus, thick, racist, bigoted, and stupid. Purple says this, anyone who feels nostalgia is because they envision themselves being in the upper crust. Take anyone with a nostalgia craze and send them back to their selected period, but make them black. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. That is an excellent point. these people, these people are just so ignorant and stupid. It beggars belief, and they shouldn't be anywhere near the levers of power. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Okay, well, thanks for watching. Thanks for bearing with me. I haven't exactly been at my best, but we got there in the end. Hopefully I'll do better next time, and hopefully I'll just get better as time goes on. But thanks for sticking with me. Purple says, sorry I came in right at the end. We'll watch the replay later tonight. Okay, thanks, Purple. I appreciate it. And just to let you know, there's not going to be a stream next week because I'm going to be on holiday. I'm going to be in Kent. But you're not going to be without content. There are videos scheduled for every day that I'm away. So make sure you hit the bell to stay notified. Okay. Hope you have a nice vacation. Yeah, thanks, Purple. And I'll see you when I get back. Okay. Bye for now.